This video covers topics of abuse. Please use discretion. Also, it's important to note that I'm not a mental health professional, just someone talking about her experiences. Hi, I'm Autumn. I'm a transgender woman and a huge nerd in my mid 30s. I'm here to talk about my life and experiences in the hope that they can resonate a little with you, maybe even make you feel less alone. If I succeed, do let me know somehow. So, I've always really tried to escape. Name an indulgence, I loved it. I would devour films, read books, and do everything I could to rope friends into fantasy worlds through tabletop RPGs. That's not saying some of this wasn't constructive. I really think a lot of media I've consumed helped shape me as a person, in a positive way, even. The RPGs gave me unforgettable memories and made me friends. Enjoying pleasure isn't bad on its face either. The problem was the overindulgence, fixation, and overconsumption. The issue was why I was doing it. I'll come right out and say it. I'm very sensitive, and I was hurt from a young age. The pain made me feel isolated, even when I wasn't. Have you ever felt alone, even when you're surrounded by people or when you know you're doing everything expected of you? When I was a few years old, I would get goosebumps lying in bed and think to myself, I was born in the wrong family. I was always more interested in fantasy than reality. I loved going through books, video games, and movies, even the scary and bloody kinds that conventional wisdom suggests a kid my age shouldn't have been experiencing. Could you blame me? Fantasy didn't judge. It was like a warm blanket for my sparking, overheated brain. Like plenty of kids, I had intense expectations put on myself to perform well in school, even from kindergarten. Each star sticker on my alphabet writing exercises would be praised and rewarded, while every mere checkmark of adequacy was interrogated. As I got older, I developed a love of horror, even when it affected me deeply, and oh boy, did it ever. It was comforting in comparison to the lessons I was learning at home and in school. That failure to get good grades would have a chain reaction that would lead to my homelessness and starvation, as my mother never tired of pointing out when she needed me to lock in, and that my very soul was at stake in a cosmic battle between good and evil, as my Catholic school education regularly reminded me. This level of existential threat is what a lot of us are hit with in some form or another, often way before our brains have built up proper critical thinking and stress coping skills. Like me, maybe you were also taught that corporal punishment was part of life, and that a slap or belt whip from your parents was just them doing their parental duty and warming you up for the rigors of society. None of this makes me special. I'll bet some of you listening have similar stories for sure. This message isn't particularly special either. You can find plenty of video essays on the cruelties of human civilization and capitalism. What I want to focus on here isn't the big picture, though, it's the small one. It's us, it's you. All these stressors and cycles of abuse can seriously warp our personal narratives and sense of well being, and that has enormous ripple effects. I don't think you can do much good for society if you can't do good for yourself first. I think the real tragedy of it all is that this pressure to accept all this misery as normal parts of life compresses us into shapes that are just different enough that it makes it scary to connect to and reach out to each other. The defense mechanisms get fortified, the porcupine quills grow in, and the show goes on because we're made to feel that we'll get pulverized if it doesn't. Worse still, some cocktail of societal constructs and primal lizard brain urges makes cruelty and exploitation a not only workable but convenient answer to life's horrors. I don't think people who are used to trampling on top of others feel like they don't belong in that place, after all. And for many of us who are built sensitive, thoughtful, and receptive, getting a taste of all this is like being forced to drink molten lead. It burns going down and hardens your insides in an unnatural and backbendingly heavy way. Even for those of us that manage to be successful in our endeavors, a sense of weight, wrongness, and pure otherness sits in our guts. It doesn't help that we all learn from a young age that it's the results that matter. Good grades, popularity, and success all equal money, which equals survival. Anything that keeps you from achieving those things is just a speed bump, a problem to be fixed and a nuisance to get over. The joys of experiencing art and other people are things to be earned and consumed quietly in our spare time. It's even worse if you identify with the wrong aesthetics. Someone who was assigned female at birth and who likes action figures, someone assigned male at birth who wishes they could be their favorite video game heroine, someone who just doesn't want to look like what they're told they are. As things are, such deviations go against the flow. They require an ounce of special consideration and empathy from others that doesn't generate value and success. It might even make some people question what it means to be normal or even happy. Kids with these differences might even be treated with scorn and anger by parents who view their children as extensions or direct reflections of themselves instead of their own unique unfolding identities. And so the pushback starts. Guilt, shame, abuse that's physical, psychological, or both. It doesn't even have to be overt and directly external. You can be treated without hostility because you twigged early that playing along with the script is the only way to operate safely. So you push it all down and inflict the harm preemptively on yourself. We defend ourselves through changing our strategies in life to avoid repeated pain. And gradually, other people, the world, it all gets more alien and distant. We relate to it in distorted ways because our sense of self is distorted in order to survive. We find release valves wherever we can through solitary pursuits, controlled interactions, or, like in my case, distorted social behaviors like becoming too agreeable and love bombing others. We learn that sharing ourselves is dangerous, so we stop doing it completely. We take psychological shortcuts and jury rig half functional ways to relate to others in the world. For me, it was my imaginativeness, lack of boyish masculinity, and sensitivity that got me pushback. My father made sure I knew crying was an inexcusable sign of weakness and immaturity, and being gentle and non intimidating made me a prime target for bullies in middle school. When I started getting interested in girls, I was plagued with thoughts that I was an inadequate man, and my Catholic education ensured that I had very few resources to understand that I wasn't a man in the first place, with the unspoken implication that even conceiving of gender nonconformity was an even greater mark of otherness, a complete taboo. For all scriptures talk about welcoming others and community care, Catholic school can sure encourage uniformity with their exacting uniform regulations and strict codes of expression and conduct. I remember submitting a poem about the universe feeling chaotic to my school's literary magazine, and that thing was quietly and efficiently rejected from a publication that was not rich in submission material. Far worse, I remember when a gay classmate was quietly pulled aside and told he must never follow his urges. Gossip about it got spread fast, and it was something that was quietly allowed to be shamed as long as it wasn't overt. I want to tell you this: that feeling of pressure, of being judged, and of having to warp and distort yourself just to get through the day around others, it's not your fault. You might have responsibility for some of the things you did because you were hurting, but the painful mental shape you've been twisted into, that alienating otherness that other people can detect radiating off you, is just a product of trying to survive. Maybe you'll never stop being an outsider. I'm here to tell you that's okay too, because too many people get attached to the idea of belonging and need an outgroup to look at and prove they're not a weird or a freak. What isn't okay is believing you'll never find others you'll connect with, or who can't relate to your pain. What is never okay is giving up on yourself and others completely, and to stop trying. That's letting the pressure crush you when you have the strength to resist. And here's the secret: owning your otherness and projecting yourself outward is actually magnetic. You'll also make real connections, learn to experience your passions without shame, and get the energy to go after what you want in life. Being unabashed about my interests, my hurts, and what I feel on the inside made me good friends and set me on the course to coming into alignment with myself through my gender transition. I'm making videos on this channel for exactly those reasons too. I won't lie, this is challenging, but nowhere near impossible. You'll get pushback, and not everywhere is a safe place to be yourself. You might have to start small, be strategic, and plan exit strategies to get into healthier surroundings. The important thing is you don't ever believe it's impossible or that it can't happen. You'll make it happen because you need it to happen to keep your heart beating and your soul burning. So, please try and take stock of those quiet voices in your head that make you feel affirmed, energized, and interested. Use them as a map towards projecting yourself instead of making yourself small and inoffensive. Take stock of what you need to do to avoid real danger from intolerant people before you do so. You'll find those who care. You will find your passions. You will become an outsider in all the best ways. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my first video ever. This is all new to me, and I'm very flattered if you found what I had to say to be worth your time and attention. Please subscribe for more if you did.